Hi, everyone, and welcome to this micro introduction to the importance of the first 3 years of your baby's developing brain. I say micro introduction because this topic is both so intricate and rapidly evolving that it would take hours, perhaps weeks or years, to delve into the complexities of this topic in depth. Hopefully, today's session will give you a glimpse into the fascinating journey of how the brain evolves and how it impacts our cognitive, emotional, and social skills throughout our lifetime. I'd also like to take a moment to thank the Childhood Potential Conference organizers. I have had the opportunity to share at this conference many times over the past few years, and each year gets bigger and better with phenomenal speakers from all over the world who come together, contributing their time, knowledge, and experience. Every year, I get so excited to learn more and share my living room with so many great minds. Thank you to each and every one of you who makes this possible. My name is Paula Zhou, and like many of you, I am a parent and Montessori educator and enthusiast of holistic development. I have worked with children and all those who love and care for them for the past 26 years, and more than any book, any course, or any diploma, it is when I'm with the child that I learn most about this wonderful shared human experience. And it's in the complexities of the brain, the learning, unlearning, relearning, and that whole cycle all over again, trying to understand how our experiences build that most powerful computer that is known to man, that I am most fascinated. So let's start off with a quick look at the evolution of the brain. The journey of brain evolution began millions of years ago with primitive reptiles. These early creatures possessed what is often referred to as the reptilian or instinctual brain. The reptilian brain is responsible for basic life functions such as breathing, heartbeat, muscle movement, and balance. It operates on automatic pilot, ensuring species survival through instinctual behaviors like feeding and escaping danger. As evolution progressed, mammals emerged, bringing with them a more complex brain structure. The limbic system, also known as the emotional brain, evolved over the top of the reptilian brain. This new layer includes structures like the hypothalamus, hippocampus, and amygdala. The hypothalamus regulates body temperature, water balance, and endocrine activity. The hippocampus is crucial for learning and memory, while the amygdala, that part that's deep in the middle of the brain, processes emotions and emotional memories. The limbic system allowed mammals to experience a wider range of emotions and to do that one thing that we all love so much, to form more complex social bonds. About 200,000 years ago, Homo sapiens emerged, marking the dawn of the human brain. The most significant addition to the human brain is the neocortex, or that part that lies right over the top. The neocortex is also known as the rational brain or the human brain, and it's responsible for those executive functions, that higher cognitive functions, such as thinking, language, personality, and problem solving. It enables humans to plan, reason, and make decisions based on abstract concepts. At birth, the neocortex, or the human brain, has already undergone substantial development in utero. The major structural layers are formed, and neurons have migrated to their appropriate positions within these layers. However, those connections between neurons, synaptic connections, are not yet fully established. And this is where our work comes in as the parents and early childhood educators, supporting healthy connections and basically the construction of the software of our child's brain. And when we look at Dr. Montessori's writing, we can see that her idea of the spiritual embryo echoes this neurological understanding of postnatal development. This quote comes from one of her later published works, The Formation of Man, a work dedicated to the psychological development of the child in the first 4 years of life. We know that the first 3 years of life are a unique window of opportunity for brain development. The experiences a child has during this time will shape their brain in ways that will affect them for the rest of their life. This is why it's so important to provide a nurturing and stimulating environment for young children. The experiences they have during this time impact their cognitive abilities, emotional regulation, and their social skills, basically all of their interactions with the world. So let's take a look at just a few of the ways that we, as the nurturing, loving caretakers of these growing minds, can better care for, and perhaps some of the ways that we unfortunately often hinder optimum development in the early years. Imagine a baby who is constantly exposed to loud noises, bright lights, and multiple toys all at once. This baby's brain is being overstimulated and it can't process all of the information coming in from the outside. Overstimulating the brain not only leads to sensory overload, causing stress and anxiety in young children, but can also interfere with a child's ability to build attention, focus, and learn. If we think of the toy industry, many of the toys that are marketed for young children are multifunctional, flashy, noisy toys. And as parents, it can be really hard to discern which toy is best for our child, for our loved ones. I've been there too. We often end up getting too many, overloading the toy boxes and our homes. Young babies are bombarded with a sensory overload of sights, sounds, and textures, all competing for fragmenting our child's growing attention. In contrast, if we look at Dr. Montessori's recommendations, children are offered simple activities that isolate the senses and support sensory refinement. Many parents are really surprised when they see a Montessori infant or toddler environment for the first time. The simplistic setup with an absence of those flashing lights or bright colors and noise can pose a stark contrast to what those toy manufacturers sell us as what's best for our babes. Simplicity shouldn't be confused, though, with nothing at all. And we also know the difference between providing that simple setup or nothing at all. Leaving the child in an environment absent of adequate stimulation can result in the baby's brain not forming as many connections as it should. So, like in everything in life, find balance. Now imagine a baby or toddler who is left crying for long periods of time without being comforted. This baby's emotional needs are not being met, and it can lead to trust issues and attachment problems later in life. Neglecting emotional needs can have a lasting impact on a child's ability to form healthy relationships and regulate their own emotions. I hear some parents, actually lots of parents, talking about their fear of spoiling their child, creating dependency. But when a baby or toddler cries or shows distress, it's important that there's an empathic and caring adult who attends to the needs of the child. This display of empathy not only supports your child's ability to regulate their emotions, but also helps build those synaptic connections for their own ability to empathize. And you'll want that later on. We're always building brains. And I want to spend an extra moment on this point because some parents may confuse empathic response with giving their child everything, giving the child all that they want or all that they ask for, just to stop them from crying. And it's important to note that listening with care and kindness Showing empathy is not the same as giving in to your child's every whim. You can get to your child's level, let them know that you really know that they want that toy or that ice cream, and that it makes them sad that they can't have it right now, without actually giving in. Active listening and responding as opposed to reacting, which is what the giving in is, helps children regulate their emotions, recognize that they're being understood, and build secure and healthy relationships and healthy brains. So let's take a look now at independence and how nurturing independence can support the growing brain. If you're a parent, I'm sure many of you have experienced a moment when your baby or toddler gets so upset because they want to do something by themselves. Whether it's the early attempts at self-feeding, grabbing the spoon when they're just 6 months old, or trying to dress themselves, getting tangled in t-shirts and trousers. These early attempts at independence can often conflict with our own mothering or nurturing nature. We don't want our children to struggle, so we'll often dive in, help them, save them. Only if we really look at it, is this really helping our children or stealing away opportunity for them to learn and grow and build their brains? This is where conscious parenting or conscious child caring comes in. When we need to be aware of our automatic pilot and make deliberate and conscious decisions for our child's growing body and brain. So let's take a few moments to look at this video. So how did it feel to watch this video? I've probably seen this clip possibly 100 times or more, and it's still so difficult to watch. I sit with bated breath, my nurturing side wanting to jump in and save little Ruby, pass her the toy and end this struggle. But let's take a moment to think about what Ruby is doing in this video. Physically, she is moving her body, building her strength and coordinating her movements to reach for something that she can see that she wants. Brain-wise, Ruby is learning that when she focuses on something, when she tries, fails, and tries again, she can succeed. She's building resilience. She's learning that effort can be rewarded. She's learning a sense of purpose. She's building her self-confidence and belief in herself. All of these amazing things that cannot be taught by any book or any other person. These are things that she has to feel by herself. All of that just by reaching for a toy. And let's take this example of a child putting on their own shoes. Think of a toddler, maybe an 18 to 24-month-old or so. The struggle, the effort, the concentration, the motor control, the sheer perseverance that it takes to put on their own shoes. But if you've ever taken the time to observe a child of this age putting on their own shoes, you'll notice that they rarely give up. They may get a little frustrated, they may even throw the shoe, scream, but then they retrieve it and start again. That mothering nature that we talked about so often kicks in at this time. It can be hard to watch a child taking so long to put on their shoe. We take over. We do it for them. We hurry them. Sometimes, if the child has even managed to put on their own shoe, but perhaps on the wrong foot, we quickly point that out to them. And then we sit them down and change the shoes over by ourselves. Think about that for a moment. The child is concentrated, so concentrated, working on a task. They complete their task. They feel this sense of confidence. And like a pin to a balloon, with one action, we pop that confidence. We come in, we burst all their efforts, we take over, we send the message that you didn't do it right, that you're not good enough. Send that message often enough, and that's the connection that happens in your child's brain. That's what the message is when your child is a teenager, a young adult, a mother themselves. You're not enough. You didn't do it well enough. So let's look at Dr. Montessori's quote here from the Montessori method. We habitually serve children, and this is not only an act of servility toward them, but it is dangerous, since it tends to suffocate their useful, spontaneous activity. We are inclined to believe that children are like puppets, and we wash them and feed them as if they were dolls. We do not stop to think that the child who does not do, does not know how to do. So in those moments when we notice that automatic pilot taking over, take a moment to breathe and remember this quote from Dr. Montessori. There's so much happening on the inside that might not be so obvious from the outside. For a child, dressing themselves, feeding themselves, climbing into a car seat, or any other simple act is not just about the act itself. There's great effort, great work going on, both physically and mentally, in all of these simple everyday acts. The child does work which may not be important for the world, but which is important to him. Setting boundaries is essential for safe and healthy development. But in a Montessori environment, it can be something that can often be gravely misunderstood. The freedom within boundaries that children are afforded in a Montessori environment is not merely a philosophical ideal, but a practical strategy that supports optimal brain development. This concept is rooted in the understanding that children are innately driven to explore, learn, and make sense of their world. Yet this innate curiosity must be channeled within a framework that ensures safety, respect, and a conducive learning environment. Boundaries are essential for several reasons. Firstly, they provide a sense of order and predictability, which is crucial for young brains that are still developing their executive functions. By establishing clear and consistent boundaries, children learn to navigate their environment with confidence, knowing what behaviors are expected of them and what consequences may follow if those boundaries are crossed. This understanding fosters self-discipline and the ability to self-regulate, essential skills for emotional well-being and social competence. Boundaries in a Montessori environment are designed to be supportive rather than punitive. They're created through the preparation of the environment, where materials are arranged to invite exploration while ensuring safety, allowing children to build their skills and confidence. This approach respects the child's developing capabilities and encourages them to explore within parameters that challenge but don't overwhelm them. Importantly, boundaries are established without resorting to rewards or punishments. Instead, they're reinforced through positive reinforcement and the natural consequences of actions. When a child respects boundaries, they experience the satisfaction of mastering a task. Conversely, when boundaries are crossed, natural consequences provide learning opportunities without the stigma of punishment. This approach nurtures intrinsic motivation and a sense of responsibility, allowing children to develop a genuine love for learning and deep understanding of their own capabilities. Ultimately, freedom within boundaries creates a space where children can flourish. It balances the need for exploration and autonomy with the necessity for safety and order, fostering an atmosphere that supports cognitive, emotional, and social development, providing our children with the foundation they need to become confident, resilient, and passionate learners. So think about how you can put these boundaries in place in your homes or learning environments. What kind of things do you think are acceptable? And perhaps think about those 3 Ds that we often use in an environment, in a Montessori environment. Ask yourself when your child is doing something, is this dangerous? If it's dangerous, it needs to stop. You need to speak with your child, albeit calmly and with care and compassion and understanding, but it needs to be stopped. Is it destructive? Is the child doing something that can destroy the environment or destroy others' works? Or is what they're doing disruptive? Is it breaking the concentration of others? Is it disrupting your peace of mind? These 3 Ds, danger, destruction, and disruption, are those signs to help you know when boundaries need to be enforced. Also gives us a good help in understanding where to set boundaries, what things are appropriate in our home and learning environment. There are so many examples that we could explore that support our children's development brains, but we'll leave those for another time. But before we finish, let's move for a moment to your brain, the caretaker, the parent, or the educator. The synaptic neural connections in your own brain are already pretty well established. Your beliefs, routines, and the way you do things may be already quite firmly set in stone. All of this takes place in the early years and gets re-established and reconfirmed as we live out those routines and daily exercises. And this is where conscious parenting comes in. Some of the routines, some of your beliefs may just be there because that's the way that you've always done it. But they might not be best for you and your growing child. So bringing awareness, curiosity, and friendliness to your thoughts, your actions and reactions, and deliberately choosing something different, or perhaps choosing what you've always done, but making sure that that choice is the best choice for you, your child, and your family. Conscious parenting and choosing something that goes against what you've always known or always experienced may sometimes feel a little uncomfortable and almost alien. That's because it's what you've always done. It's what your brain knows. It's what your brain does automatically. It can sometimes feel like we're going against our true self. But when we remind ourselves that these ideas are just synaptic connections that we have formed in our own lifetime, synaptic connections that can be rewired with the brain's incredible plasticity, the discomfort that we feel when we try something new can soon be replaced with familiarity and habit. And in the meantime, we model bravery, reflection, and conscious living to our little ones. What a great role model that is. Thank you so much for listening in today. But more than that, thank you for your dedication to your child or the children in your care. You are incredible. Remember that. You are a parent or educator who cares deeply, deeply enough to spend time exploring and perhaps becoming that little bit closer to understanding this beautiful journey that we share called life. It's a great task, a great mission to bear responsibility for a soul and help children in the construction of man. Dr. Montessori, Lecture 16, the London Lecture.